it was tweeted at me yesterday. Obviously, I am in Hawaii. I am not listening to Utah Sports Talk Radio.
Right.
It was tweeted at me yesterday that on Ben Criddle's show, Benjamin broke out the take that Utah is middle of the road.
Right.
And that they got outclassed in the swamp. That's one of the worst takes I've ever heard. And listen, excuse me, listen, I understand that Ben has an audience to serve. I understand that Ben Criddle's a guy that people look at as the BYU guy.
Right.
I believe that he does his show from the hearts of BYU country.
Mm-hmm.
But this is one of the worst takes I've ever heard.
And with all due respect,
I don't think Ben Criddle believes that. If you watch the game on Saturday at the Swamp, there's nobody that would watch that game and come out of it feeling like Utah was middle of the road. I don't know, Ben. I've heard his show maybe 2 or 3 times. He played football. I would like to think he knows a thing or two about football. What common sense would you need to say that Utah, and when I say Utah, I mean the University of Utah Utes Football program is middle of the road?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting take, all things considered. Obviously I disagree that Utah is a middle of the road team. I think that Utah has had a bad outing. I'll be honest. I think that as we've been saying all week, Utah didn't tackle. Utah didn't really execute, and they paid the price for that with a loss,
Yeah.
and I think that that's just the business of football. And I think that what we do in the media is we tend to jump too far one way or the other. And this isn't just about, Ben or whoever. I'm just saying, generally speaking, I think in the media, what happens is like, we'll like earlier in the week, you had kind of talked about that, Utah State was a legitimate opponent against Alabama, and I kind of disagreed with that. And then they go out and roll Utah State in a dominant performance. There's these conversations we have about football and sports in general where something will happen and we'll just kind of jump too far. And I think that that's kind of what happened here, with all due respect. I just think that Utah is a program that is way better than middle of the road. I think Utah is a Rose Bowl caliber team. I think that Utah, had they gone out and beaten Florida at the Swamp to start the year, what would we be saying? Well, I know we wouldn't be saying they're a middle of the road team. I can tell you that, right? We would be saying, well, they've kept the momentum from last year. You maybe a Rose Bowl appearance in back-to-back years is in the books. It is in the stars. So that's why I say I just think that a lot of times that's what happens in sports. But I'm here to adamantly say, they're not a middle-of-the-road team. I think that they didn't execute. They did not punch it in when they had the chance. And furthermore, and the reason they lost the game is because they didn't tackle and they didn't do things the right way defensively.
I have no idea. Hey, how are you? How about that? Did that fix it? There we go. Our screen just went black. I have no idea why that happened. We have had some weird technical gremlins on this show this week. I'll be honest with you. Our internet just chooses to stop working when it gets tired. I think it's running on a treadmill and it's only going to go for 2 hours.
Well, hamster wheel action.
I appreciate you very much for hanging out. But anyway, my point is, listen, let's cut to the chase on Utah. Utah is not a middle-of-the-road team.
Yeah.
Anybody that says Utah is a middle-of-the-road team just didn't watch that game. And I want to get this point really clear because there were some people talking about how Utah football was making excuses about their jerseys were slippery. Utah made no excuses. If you listen to Kyle Whittingham's press conference, there were no excuses about slippery fields or slippery jerseys. Utah didn't tackle. Let's just get this clear right now. Mm-hmm. Utah had not 1 or 2, 3 opportunities to win that game. They played arguably the worst game I've seen them play in 2 full seasons on Saturday in Gainesville. They didn't tackle. They didn't execute the passing game. Devon Bailey only had 3 catches. This was one of the worst performances I've seen out of Utah's defense maybe ever in Kyle Whittingham's tenure.
Facts.
And they lost by 3 points on the road in the Swamp.
It took something special to beat them.
I'm telling you now, this set of circumstances will never repeat itself.
Well, and I think the other, going back to this, I'm not going to call it the overreaction conversation, but just the swinging too far one way or the other. I think, a lot of people came out and said that Anthony Richardson had some sort of special performance or that he is a transformative quarterback.
Utah Pig Bus. A Utah booster, a huge fan. So take that with a grain of salt, because I think anytime you hear a fan talk about a football team, you have to take that with a grain of salt. But he said that Anthony Richardson had a breakout transformative performance. No, he did not. He is an average-ass quarterback. He completes at a very low percentage, right around, I think last year he was 59. His career percentage actually bumped up in this game to 62%, because I think he completed 70% of his passes, but I don't think he even had 200 yards in this game. Like, this was not about Florida, and that's the thing I'm trying to drive home here. This had nothing to do with Florida.
Right.
The swamp didn't intimidate Utah. It wasn't too loud. It wasn't too humid. It wasn't too slippery. They didn't tackle. They looked like a team who didn't pop pads in camp. They looked like a team who, in my opinion, was not prepared to play the physical level of football that they needed to be prepared for to go to Florida and win. That's on Kyle Whittingham. That's on his defense not being ready to tackle. That's why they lost the game.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I completely agree. It's really well said.
I think, and look, I understand there's a lot of hyperbole. I understand that anytime Utah does something bad, BYU jumps up. Anytime BYU does something bad, Utah jumps up. Like, I understand the pot gets stirred.
Yeah.
To say this on the radio as a credible take is mind-numbing.
Yeah, and I think
I can't believe it.
We talk a lot about how, and again, just in the big picture, like, I feel like radio nowadays, or really what I'll say is the spoken word format, if you will, spoken word sports conversations. They're just not well developed. They're not well thought out or well researched. There's not a game plan when people do their shows anymore, and I think that's why takes like this often happen. And hey, maybe it was a strategy. Maybe it was, hey, or this is the take I'm going to roll out with because this will, do whatever in the media. I don't know. We do see that a lot in today's sports cycle as well.
Yeah.
Like, Undisputed or a lot of these hot take shows that just come out with whatever take. Like, it's well known that, Skip Bayless hates LeBron, even if LeBron has some ridiculous performance in the postseason. You get what I mean. So that's why I say I just think that yeah, I disagree with this take. And I think that anybody who watches football is not going to sit here and say that Utah is a middle of the road SEC team. I think Utah is not. Utah is not Alabama and Georgia, right? Utah is not those guys, but they're definitely better than Florida. I think that they would give a lot of SEC teams fits, man.
Absolutely.
I think they'd be a top 5 team in the SEC.
Well, and I think the thing is Kyle Whittingham's going to get this cleaned up. I mean, there is no question about that. I still maintain that Kyle Whittingham's one of the most underrated coaches in the country. I think every single year in, every single year out, the guy is undervalued. And Utah is this shocking team who comes out of nowhere. It's not shocking anymore. They're not coming out of nowhere. Utah's one of the best football programs in the country. And I understand the rivalry again. Bless your hearts. But this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
At some point, you've got to own the fact that you were either not – you didn't watch the game because and my guess is that that's what happened here. My guess is that Ben didn't watch the game, didn't see what happened, didn't see how it played out, and just bought into what the narrative was. Because, again, I think Ben Criddle knows football. I think Ben Criddle's a guy who's again, played at BYU. Obviously, he's a good analyst. Like, it's surprising to me that Ben would say that Utah's a middle-of-the-road team. Like that.
Allegedly said what he said.
Yeah, I can't believe that. Like,
Yeah.
I just can't believe that Ben Criddle would say that, and it is shocking to me. But we'll see. Let's get some of your thoughts in here. Roger Dodger, I love that name. Says the field in Florida is literally a swamp. They need to a little sand base. I've actually been on the field in Gainesville, and it's actually a grass field. Believe it or not, like it's actually
right. There's like grass,
like
growing
it's
out of
turf
the ground.
and stuff. Like there's actually
blades of grass
you know,
and stuff.
I mean, there's crocodiles running around and stuff, and
Right.
you're playing underwater.
Right. Yeah.
It's actually not a swamp. Richard McDonald, first win in this morning, says, how good is Utah? Not as good as BYU. Ooh. Well, we can say that because BYU beat Utah last year. But they're going to beat them this year. Utah's going to – oh, they're not playing. That's right. Sorry for missing the live shows. Been busy keeping people's packages moving. Are you a UPS or a FedEx guy?
Yeah.
Appreciate
you,
Richard. Thank you, man. I know the hard, and I'm not even kidding about this. As hot as it has been in this country this summer, UPS, FedEx, and the mailman have just taken a beating.
Facts.
I mean, that's one of the most underappreciated jobs in the world.
Yeah.
Especially with how much we all rely on Amazon right now. Come on.
Yeah,
now.
within my Jordan collection. Come
Yeah,
on.
hello. Lopes fan Gabe says many of the people calling Utah mid now are probably the same ones who called Witt washed at the start of last season. How'd that all work out?
Yeah,
exactly right,
you
Lopes
know.
fan Gabe. Lopes fan Gabe coming to our event, by the way.
Yes.
It's a week from Saturday. A week from Saturday, we will be watching BYU in Oregon live at Barbecue Pit Stop in Lehigh. And again, we're giving away a trip that day to see BYU in the Shamrock Series, taking on Notre Dame at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. You get 2 nights at the Palms Resort Hotel and Casino. You get 2 tickets to the game. You get a $250 gas card to get you there. And all you have to do is go to Barbecue Pit Stop, any of their 5 Utah locations, Layton, Lehigh, Logan, Salt Lake City, Murray, and St. George. All of them are great dudes. Go there, fill out. There's a box on the counter with our beautiful faces.
Yes.
1 week left to do that. A week from today, we are picking those boxes up.
Hey, guys.
And then we're going to put all the winners' names or all the entrance names into a hopper and pull a winner. All you have to do, get to Barbecue Pit Stop today. Do not hesitate. If you're not in Utah, get online, chat with them at bbqpitstop.com. The website's right there on the screen. BBQ Pit Stop with 1 T, Pit Stop. bbqpitstop.com. Chat with them on their website. And then, by the way, go explore their smokers, the Yoders, the Traegers, the Big Green Eggs, all of the rubs, the spices.
Yes.
I'm telling you, the dichotomy, which basically means there's a lot of different sauces there. It's
That's
amazing.
right, T.
That's right, T. All the different tools,
Yes.
aprons, you name it. Barbecue Pit Stop is your place. And again, the one thing I want to say about Barbecue Pit Stop, I would love to see how many people are smokers versus charcoal briquettes.
Yeah, briquettes.
Don't do charcoal briquettes. It's so easy to work the smoker. It's so easy, and they're going to teach you how. And when you get the smoker home and you're like, I don't remember where to plug this thing in, you can call Barbecue Pit Stop and say, hey, man, I just bought that Traeger Ironwood 885. How do I plug it in? They're going to laugh at you, and then they're going to tell you how to plug it in because
Right.
they give you tremendous customer service. Go see them, fill out the slip, enter to win a trip for 2 to see BYU and Notre Dame in Las Vegas. That is just now less than a month away.
Mm-hmm.
That's how fast the football season goes. So you're going to blink, and you're going to be in Las Vegas watching BYU and Notre Dame. It's going to be unbelievable. But having said all of that now, what is a reasonable expectation for Utah this season?
I mean, I still think they can be a major bowl team. I still think that the Rose Bowl is still, a possibility. I still think any major bowl is a possibility. Now, again, you're going to have a special season now because you lost in week 1. Like, you're going to have to run the table.
Special.
You are. Like, you're going to have to win out, bro. Like, you're going to have to go and do things that nobody else really is doing outside of, I don't know, Alabama and Georgia. You're going to have to be that good. And I think that, to me, that's a special season. We get spoiled watching Alabama and Georgia be a one-loss team every year, but, I don't think that we should just take it for granted. I think if Utah were to do that, that's an impressive season, man. And so, to me, I do think a bowl is still I'm not talking about some random bowl. I'm talking about a major, like, New Year's Six style bowl where you're a big deal. I still think that's a possibility for Utah. Absolutely.
Wow. Mike Pressler says Richard's not a UPS or FedExer. He's a fluffer moving packages. Wow.
Okay.
Roger Dodger says Florida will probably end up with a 7-8 win with 7-8 wins this year. That's probably true.
Yeah.
because I don't think Anthony Richardson's anything special. I don't. When it comes to elite quarterbacks, he's not a Caleb Williams caliber quarterback. He's not one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I don't think he's a Heisman Trophy candidate. I don't think Florida is an SEC championship medal team. They're not Georgia. They're certainly not. I mean, is Florida Ole Miss? I don't know. Jackson Dart didn't look impressive. By the way, did anybody see that?
The best thing since sliced bread, right? I mean, I think it all depends on who you ask. I think that, I think in order to win SEC championships, national championships, to do the biggest and baddest things in college football, it's kind of the saying that you've always rolled out there, which is at some point your quarterback's going to have to stand in there and deliver the football, and that's Anthony Richardson's problem, Anthony Richardson is a run-first guy, and while that worked in week 1 against Utah, that's not going to work to the point where you're going to be winning championships and doing things because defenses are too good, man.
I don't know. Anthony Richardson or Jaden Daniels at LSU, the Arizona State transfer.
Yeah, I mean,
I think they're very similar quarterbacks.
I think right now I'd be taking Anthony Richardson just because the guy is locked in and playing his best football for what that looks like for him, which I think absolutely matters. I think, when someone has a certain skill set, like if you're Anthony Richardson and you're a run-first quarterback, while that has its limitations and he is a 59% passer for the most part, at the same time when he's playing his best football, it is a chaotic thing to try to defend.
Yeah.
So that's why I say I think right now I'd be taking Anthony Richardson, but there's no telling what Jaden can do as far as his potential is concerned.
I don't know. I look at Florida, and I'm not excited about Florida. And I understand, look, they're the 12th team in the country, ranked ahead of Utah. But, I mean, would it surprise anybody if Florida loses to Kentucky this weekend?
No.
It would not surprise me. In any way, shape, or form, it would not surprise me. By the way, they don't go on the road until the 24th of September on Rocky Top at Tennessee. Florida, for my money, Florida is a good, not a great team. I think Utah is a great team. I think Utah has every opportunity on October 8th to beat USC. And again, I will just say, it's Lincoln Riley. You don't expect great defensive teams out of Lincoln Riley. Mm-hmm. I mean, even at Oklahoma, you go back and you look at Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley was not a guy that was somebody who routinely had these unbelievable, unbeatable defenses at Oklahoma. He didn't. He did not, and they were better at the end of his tenure. I'll give you that.
Right.
But you look at who Lincoln Riley's been as a head coach. Lincoln Riley has been a juggernaut of an offensive guy. Guess what he's got at USC?
Totally.
A juggernaut of an offensive team. Guess what he's got at USC? A pretty, damn average-ass defense. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why Utah's going to beat USC. I just think that we know who USC is, and I think right now we know who Utah is.
Well,
Utah is a very good team.
Your point about Lincoln there, I think, is spot on. I mean, if you think about his time in Oklahoma, we weren't talking about elite defenses at Oklahoma.
No.
We were talking about, the Kyler Murrays of the world lighting the world on fire and winning Heismans and doing all that. So I think when we talk about Utah, this USC matchup later in the year when USC comes to Salt Lake is by far, in my opinion, the game of the year for Utah. I think that game has potential to be, premier SEC caliber style football where you're, when you get like Alabama, Texas as an example, is a really nice matchup. Alabama versus whoever that opponent is, that's a really good opponent and makes it a game. I'm saying that Utah-USC game has potential to be that, and mainly because you have two Titans going against each other, and that's why I say this week, I have to see what USC's defense can do, because like you were just saying, we know that they're not some amazing defense, but what does that actually look like? How does that actually play out on the field? Do we... can USC stop the run effectively, or are they going to have trouble with that? Can USC play man coverage, or can you run the football and be more effective moving the football down the field to force them to play a zone? That's what I want to see, and kind of learn about USC's defense. But I'm just so excited for this USC, Utah, and hopefully Oregon bounces back on some level. Obviously, that was incredibly disappointing. But those three teams really should be able to make the pack at least somewhat exciting this year. Yeah,
all I know is when you look at Caleb Williams, Austin Jones, you start looking at Jordan Addison. Jordan Addison, I think, played fewer snaps than Caleb Williams, obviously, at quarterback. Neither one of them played very much in the second half. I mean, when you're putting up 66 points and Jordan Addison doesn't have to play a big role in that, now he had 2 touchdowns, don't get me wrong. I mean, SC was cruising. It was flipping Rice, right? But you still gave up 14 points to Rice.
Yeah.
Like, who are we kidding? And I look at a lot of that defense. I think that's going to be the big question about who their breakout star is. Shane Lee can't make every play for USC,
Right?
And until they figure out that you're going to have to find out, Zamarian Gordon's a guy that's going to have a much bigger role on that team. It's going to be guys like that USC's got to have. But we already know who that is. The biggest question about Utah is, are the linebackers going to be more consistent? The secondary is going to eat on the Utah defense. There's no doubt about that, right?
Yeah.
Secondary is going to eat. The question's going to be now, and I think until they are proven otherwise, can these linebackers step up and can Mahmoud Diabate step up and be a down-in, down-out, dominating linebacker with all of the speed that we know he has, all of the powers, playing assignment sound football.
Yeah.
Because this team, I'm telling you now, if this team's going to continue to do, if Utah football is going to continue to do what they did in the Swamp on Saturday, which is miss tackles and not set an edge, they're going to get rolled by USC.
Right.
Because USC is fast. USC on offense is fast. They can run the ball. Caleb Williams is probably going to be in contention. He'll be in New York for the Heisman ceremony. I don't think any of us doubt that. But I'm telling you now, to call Utah a middle-of-the-road SEC team is a slap in the face, and it means you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it was shocking to see that yesterday.
Totally.
All right, let's get some opinions in here. Jansen says, my unpopular opinion, Utah is definitely good enough to win the Pac-12, but they aren't a top 10 team, maybe even top 12. If you win the Pac-12, you're one of the 5 best teams in the country, in my opinion. And right now, today, if you look at, obviously we don't put a whole lot into preseason polls, because I just think when you look at the rankings right now, what does it really mean? How is Georgia the reigning national champion? They're undefeated. They look dominant doing it. They're number 2 in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I think all of our eyes tell us that Alabama's the best team in the country. But right now, if it were me, it'd be Alabama 1, Georgia number 2. I'd probably, and I say probably, I would probably have Clemson or Ohio State 3. Let's go Ohio State 3, Clemson 4, Michigan 5. Those would be my top 5 teams. Utah can beat everybody but Alabama on that list, because I just think Alabama's the best team in the country, and it's not close. This might be Nick Saban's best defense ever. Will Anderson, again, remember I'm saying this on September 8th. Will Anderson's the best college football player in the country right now. Mm-hmm. He's a linebacker. He's a pass rusher. Who are we kidding?
Yeah.
He's a defensive end. Will Anderson's the best college football player in the country. And you're going to see it against Texas, who I want to say is starting a sophomore at tackle, a freshman or a sophomore. Mm-hmm. Good luck. Because that cat is going to dominate. And he's routinely doubled and tripled. So he's still getting his.
Yeah.
But I look at all those other teams. Utah's better than Oklahoma. Utah's better than Texas A&M, right? I mean, you want to talk about a mid-table SEC team. Isn't Texas A&M right now a mid-table SEC team?
Yeah, that's a good example of someone who's just kind of in the middle doing their thing.
Right? That we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know what Texas A&M is. But I look at Notre Dame. Utah's better than Notre Dame. And I'm a Notre Dame fan. Utah's better than Notre Dame. I look at Baylor, SC, Oklahoma State, Florida, Michigan State. I think Miami.
Like, none of these teams, when you say them, I'm like, yeah, Utah's going to get rolled by that team. I'm not.
Utah can't beat Arkansas.
Like, I just don't look at it or feel that way. Like, I do think that when you get to, upper echelon SEC team, like top 5 SEC team, these this whole thing where Utah just came out and didn't tackle is concerning, because you don't tackle against, let's say, Georgia, you're going to lose by 50 points. You know what I mean? Like, that's how good they are. So to me, I don't know, man. I think it's, part of me is like, hey, this is some bias because, obviously of that particular outlet, but also I do tend to agree. Like, I just don't know how in your right mind you say that if you watch the game and you were in that field and you understand the minutia and sort of how that game played out, because Utah was controlling the game. Like, let's not forget how this game went. Utah drives down the field, scores a touchdown, 7-0 lead. Next possession, they get a takeaway. They get stalled. They kick a field goal, I believe it was. So now I think it was 10. You know, like you had good control of this game in the first half. Utah got the wrapping paper out, got the box out, put the game in the box, wrapped it up, and gave it to Anthony Richardson. That's what they did, and it's very frustrating to watch it play out because we're literally sitting there like, yeah, man. If they'd have tackled him at first contact, 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, we'd be having a different conversation.